We've got some fresh new young
I'm Luis.
and this is Luis.
Welcome to the Content is Profit podcast.
In here, you're going to get the insights, accountability, and drive to create consistently and increase revenue.
You'll hear from top entrepreneurs, creators, and anything and everything you need to know about content. All this while having a good time.
The goal of this podcast is simple: entertain, educate, and turn your content into profit.
Ooh-wee. Let's go.
That was smooth. That was very smooth.
That was good. I liked it. Fonzie, happy Monday. Welcome.
Happy Monday. Appreciate you. Thank you for taking over on Friday.
I missed you. I mean, you did a whole day of content, so, might as well just jump in and share a little bit of story, which, by the way, you haven't heard.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard your episode. It's in the queue. I'm gonna listen to it. I gotta do the quality check, make sure it's up to standards. A little too late because it's already published.
And if you listen to it, please let me know what you think, and should we continue with that shot that we took? So I'm excited.
Well, I don't know what it is. I'm gonna have to listen to it too.
You're gonna have to listen to it. Anyways, it has to do with all the footage I took on Saturday. So
yeah, if you want to see some of that, just hit him up, and then he'll send you a bunch of footage.
Yeah. Anyways, just footage.
Just footage.
Just footage. What are we talking about today, Fonz?
So we're talking about just giving value makes you a thought leader, or we can just be talking about the difference between, being a consultant, an expert, the expert, or a thought leader. And then how can you actually become a thought leader or a living legend in the 21st century?
Yeah. So yesterday, Sunday, I was able to escape home and go to the coffee shop for about 2 hours. I like to at least take 1 hour and reset. I'm making sure that I look into my week, and when I get there, Fonzie, it's right there in flow mode, and he's like, man, look at what I just found out today. And he was all inspired.
I didn't find out.
iPad notes. Well, you read about it, and then your mind went into your iPad, and then you had all these beautiful graphics.
It's not a matter of finding out. It was like I read it from somebody, and it triggered this thought that we previously had, actually, because we've had this conversation in the past.
Isn't that the definition of finding out?
No, this just like help me remembered. It brought my previous thought up to the surface of my brain, where I recollected my thoughts, and I said, whoa, we are on the right path. So what I did was take a whole bunch of notes, right? Kind of like organize my ideas so we could talk about it today.
I love it. And you did mention a little bit of it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is podcast approved. It was so good. So
it's podcast approved.
Podcast approved. Why don't you kick us off then?
Well, I'll kick you guys off with this. What is the difference between a consultant and a living icon, a legend in a field? What do you think is the difference?
Is this kind of like a children's show that they pause until people answer?
No, we're not waiting. We're not waiting for Dora or for Blue.
Blue's Clues.
I'm asking you. What do you think? What is the difference
between
a consultant and a living icon, a legend?
Living icon.
Let's say
what comes to mind is a living icon, right? A legend has maybe started their path consulting, and then they're way past that. Like they level up, they evolved. They went from Charmander to Charizard.
I was gonna say they're not Pokemons, but yeah, I mean, yes, it is part of the path.
For those that understand my Pokemon,
if we're gonna simplify it, right? A consultant, somebody that has a range of expertise in a topic that is helping other people, deal with their challenges.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily have to come up with those topics, right? They can learn about those topics and then help and serve other people, right?
Yeah, or I mean, they got a certain level of expertise around a topic, right? Now, after that, the evolution, as you would say, is they become an expert.
Next stage, yeah.
They're just beyond consultants. You're an expert. You're recognized as a top influence in your field, but you are not the influence in your field. Right. So then can you be
influenced in a specific niche, but not in the whole thing, or like how does that transition work?
Yeah, you can be. I mean, you hear all the time. You're like niche down or die, something like that. I don't know if it's like that, right? But I actually, reading the text that I was reading yesterday, it got some thoughts that I share with you again about generalizing and specializing that we've had for quite some time.
It's been a couple of years that we've debated on it.
Yeah, but that's for a different conversation.
Yeah.
Regardless, you go from being an expert to being the expert, right? For example, I think a good example is like Russell Brunson. He went from being an internet marketer to then being like the funnel guy. Right? Like he was the expert. I think he's beyond this now. I think he is in the next step, which after being the expert, you're like the top figure recognized in that industry or whatever, right? In that field. Fun fact, I read the case studies that I don't know the exact numbers, but somebody kind of like, I think it was like doubled their profits just because they started to refer themselves as the expert rather than an expert.
I know.
And I think that's pretty powerful. The power of words and perceptions.
Yeah, perceptions.
Marketing.
That when you mentioned that, it triggered a thought, right? It's like, I was actually driving. I was like, well, you know, everybody's like, how do you find your audience? How do you find this? And, you know, how do I actually connect with the people I follow? And the thought, this was before you actually mentioned this to me. It was like, you actually create your audience, right? Through your message and through the things that you put out there, right? And then you're like, you're looking at me weird.
No, I mean, I think it's interesting. If you're listening to this right now, I mean, and you want to debate this idea,
100%.
Let us know. Send us a message. I'm curious. I think it's a good conversation.
Part of this is, you know, my personal belief that you can create your own future, right? You can create your own thing. And you said this, right? These persons started referring themselves as the expert on this, right? On this topic, right? A lot of, that's their message. That's their marketing message they put in front of people, right? And just because of that, they were able to increase their sales. Absolutely.
Well, let's be honest. Probably not just because of that. They had track record. They have results. Because you can call yourself the expert, but if you don't have any sort of result and you cannot prove your work.
I mean, obviously. I mean, you can sell, but then you have to fulfill and you got to make sure that the results are there for the people that you serve.
Exactly.
100%. But if that's true, then, you know, let's say the results are the same, right? For whether you brand yourself as the expert versus not the expert.
You're doing an A/B test in here.
Yeah, but the results are the same, right? Person number one brands themselves as the expert. Person number two don't brand themselves as the expert. They both have results.
An expert.
They both have results. Then who wins, right? The person that brands themselves as the expert, according to the example that you mentioned.
According to it, yeah. Right.
Exactly. So this is assuming that whatever you sell, whatever you do, you actually obtain results for people and you actually know what you're talking about.
I mean, and it sounds like a classic case of positioning, right? You're positioning yourself, you know, with status as the expert that people wants to go, right? Usually people want to go with the people that have probably the most social proof. And even though just saying the expert doesn't necessarily show people that you have all the social proof, it actually at first triggers that perception that you are the top of the top, that you probably serve the most people and you've helped the most people achieve their goals. So I think it's very powerful. So that could be an initial boost that you can say, I am the expert.
How do you know that you're the expert in your respective field?
Like, that's a good question.
How do you actually accept that you're an expert? How do you start believing that you're an expert there, right?
Yeah.
So this is interesting, right? Because we've had this conversation, right? I think we're really close with M2M, multi-purposing, content systems. I think we're there, right? And we've had this discussion. And I feel a certain way and you feel a very different way, according to the conversations that we've had.
Yeah, so I have a great example, and it involves our awesome partners, the HubSpot Podcast Network. We love you guys. So do you remember that one time that they sent us a script for an ad? And the script said like, oh, we were rated the second best CRM after Salesforce, something like that.
Don't bleep that. Don't say the competitor's name, my man.
Nobody cares. We're going to beat them. Let's go HubSpot.
Let's go HubSpot.
HubSpot for the win. Let's go.
So here we go.
Either way, they sent us a script that had, you know, kind of like some data, some statement in there. And then they send us a message back and they say like, hey, there was a mistake. I don't know if with the people that gathered the data, I don't remember exactly where was the mistake, but they said, we need to take this part out of the kind of like that social proof part. We got to take it out of the ad, right? And not because HubSpot is not the best CRM, because, you know, in our hearts, they are the best CRM and you should totally get them.
Yeah.
But
the situation was the message said the first.
And
it wasn't actually the first.
It's very interesting. Yeah, I think it was that. I think they said the first, but it was, there was some challenges in there.
It was a close second.
Yeah, but I think it's very interesting because they can say we are the experts at CRM, but they have it backed up by data, right? Which in this case, when the challenge came across, they were like, well, we got to take that part down. Now, I do believe let's say we have data specifically that speaks, which is very powerful, right? Talking to the rational side of the brain that says we produce way more, short form content than anybody else in the market. I think we can call ourselves, we are the expert. So I think there's a little bit, let me finish real quick. Let me finish. I think it's a sensible topic because you can potentially call yourself, I am the expert, but at the same time, it's like, okay, like, how do you back this up, right? Or, I mean, sure, I'm confident enough that we are the experts in, multi-purposing content and content systems. But again, I think the statement is way more powerful if you have data that backs it up.
Yeah.
And I know you cannot think like that because you work pretty closely with a very good friend that works with data and those kind of statements.
No, 100%. But I think also we should not be confusing the expert with the best. It's totally different, right? And I think what you just said goes hand in hand. It's like, are you actually the best at this? Okay, well, that's, we talked about that in a few episodes ago, right? Like best versus better, right? Obviously. But expert doesn't have to do with like you're actually the best at the thing that you do. You can be really good, but also be the expert, right? Mm-hmm. So again, I think there's obviously a gray line. At the end of the day, it's like, okay, if you believe that you're the best and you're marketing yourself, if you're the expert, right? And you're marketing yourself as the expert on that respective field, can you back it up with results?
That's the thing. That's the most important part.
Right. Can you actually back it up? Because guess what? The market is actually going to tell you if you are the expert or not. Right. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's what counts. Right. So I think like people that maybe have doubts or have questions, or like if you're a company, right, and you struggle with maybe positioning yourself there might be something that you might not be comfortable with, maybe within your service, with your product. Right. And that's a little bit of an internal process, right, that you have to go through, which happens all the time. We're going through it at the moment, right? We've had to work a lot of internal fears, internal stories, and frame new beliefs based on the feedback from our customers, based on the results that we gotten for our customers, right? That allow us now to say what we say and be confident with the message that we put out there.
So how do you? Well, before we go to the next segment, let us know. What do you think about
I have 5 minutes, by
being
the way, so
an expert or just being the expert and this, moral dilemma that we have in here? You got 5 minutes? Jeez, we're going to have to do like a part 2 because this one is good. So then how do we evolve from being the expert into being living legends, AKA mostly known as like thought leaders?
Well, you have exactly 4 minutes to explain to me. Explain it to me.
Oh man, this time thing. You can leave and I'll just keep going by myself. So, being a thought leader, I think it's about first your name becomes a brand. Like people know no matter what. When they throw out your name, they're like, oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And I think that happens through first development of IP, intellectual property, right? If you look at all the big guys, the big doggies out there, the big doggies,
woof, woof.
They have like their own frameworks, right? They share very, again, intellectual property. They develop their own way of doing things or frameworks about, solving certain challenges that they became thought leaders, that now people attribute a lot of stuff to them, right? So for example, yes, there is the Epiphany Bridge script, right? Which is for Russell Brunson. I know we're quoting a lot. We got our early education in the marketing space through Russell, but that was inspired in The Hero's Journey, right, by Joseph Campbell, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So I think I found it very curious because he took that, but then with his little drawings and I can literally visualize the image of the Epiphany Bridge script in my mind, that framework, and immediately I attribute it to Russell, right? And just like that, he has.
I mean, just like that, you had
so many frameworks.
The E5 with Todd Brown, episode 40, by the way.
Yeah.
You have Core Story and Dream 100 with Amanda Holmes, right? By the way, and if you do not agree that Dream 100 is Amanda Holmes, go and check it out.
Or come at us and we'll grab our boxing gloves.
Yeah. And, different examples more recently, like with us, we have the publishing pyramid, minimum viable content, right? Different things, the M2M. And those are things that as a company is definitely going to differentiate yourself, or even as an individual, right? As like Fonzie said, as a thought leader to develop those terms, that IP that's going to help you position in a different way when you execute on your programs. Yeah.
So here are 2 tips for you to transition from either an expert to the expert, and ultimately, that's a difficult word right there.
You nailed it.
To a thought leader, right? Step number 1 is making prediction, and that's bold because you cannot be afraid of, being wrong. You're probably going to be wrong in a lot of those predictions, but just keep an eye out. Look at the people that are huge, that are considered thought leaders. They make predictions all the time. Yeah. Oh, the market is going to go here. Oh, I think the best example is Gary Vee, just because he has such a good way of documenting everything that he always pulls it back, and he's obviously he shows you the predictions that he got right? Like, oh, Uber is going to be great. And then 10 years later, he's like, oh, look, I called it out, right? Like, make videos. And then 10 years later, he called it out. But at the same time, I'm sure he's made a lot of predictions that have not panned out. So they're not afraid of making predictions. And I think that just talks a lot of confidence, making a statement. I believe firmly on this, right? You are pretty much kind of carving a path for the people that like you and trust you. And if you go that way, they're probably going to follow you. So I think predictions, it's a very strong point.
Look at him, obviously Gary Vee with the content example. For years he was doing that, but now he's doing the same thing with NFTs and Web3, right? He's making all these predictions.
But he's invested in it. He's 100%. He's carving the way too.
Well, that's the other thing, right? I also believe that you have to be executing on that field to be able to do this, right? For example, what are our predictions on content, right? We talked about this a few episodes ago, right? What's the prediction on YouTube? What's the prediction on creators, on businesses trying to transition into creators, right? Those are things that you can talk about in your content with your respective fields, and that's going to elevate you to a different level.
Absolutely. And then number two is just publishing a lot, right? So we talked about the IP. Talk about it. Talk about the things that you are created, the frameworks. Example, us, right? We have so much IP now. And it all comes out through publishing.
We met last week. We had a couple sessions, 2-3 hour sessions to map out what the month of July is going to look like. There's a new commitment that we're going to be doing, a new push for a new product that we want to really put out there. And we're going and doing an inventory of all that IP that we've been able to develop, right? From M2M, which is our content creation system, right? To the publishing pyramid, to Fortify. What are the things that we can do, right? And I highly, highly encourage you to go through that exercise. All it took was probably 20 minutes. And we just put it on a board, all the things that we did, right? And then it's okay, what's the name of this? What's the name of this concept? We've talked about this many, many times on the show. What is can we put it in writing?
M2M, publishing pyramid, right? Content umami. We have a lot of stuff that we've just created through publishing through taking action and iterating and then reflecting on these things and then putting them together in a way that they become ours. And I want to say this, I think this goes hand in hand with the principle of imprinting. I think it is, right? In positioning, when somebody hears something for the first time to somebody, they're going to attribute it to you, right? When a dog is born, that this is one of the best examples for imprinting. It's the first person that they see or dog that they see, is their mom. Pretty much.
You said dog or duck?
Duck.
Okay.
Ducky.
Duck.
Ducky duck. Is their mom, right? And it's the same thing with ideas. If I share, again, Epiphany Bridge script, I didn't know about the hero's journey. I started first with the Epiphany Bridge script, and guess who I attributed to? Of course, Russell Brunson. Now, he didn't just blatantly copy it from Joseph Campbell. He made it his own, right? So really create your own IP and then don't be afraid to share it. Name it. Super, super important. Name it. Have a unique name so then people can attribute those thoughts to you. And then when those those thoughts, those ideas come to the mind of others, immediately they're gonna remember you as well.
All right, action point and homework for you, right? One is, what's a prediction that you can make today?
Make a bold prediction and tag us.
Bold prediction, tag us at BIZBROS Co, right? And then number two.
My prediction is that my brother's going to paint his hair pink.
What? That's prediction is wrong. I can tell you right.
You cannot be afraid of,
Sure. In the market, Fonzie, we're talking about predictions in the market. Okay, like so.
Just trying to throw a joke in there. Get people to laugh a little bit.
Okay, and my prediction is podcast is gonna become the number one B2B relationship building platform in the next 5 years.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's gonna happen. It's already there. It's already getting very close.
So if it's already there, is it a real prediction?
It's already there, as in close, like growing.
Okay, so make a
number
prediction.
One, make a bold prediction in your market, and number two, right? Do that exercise where you start labeling what are the things that you do, what are the things that you execute, right? What are those names, that IP that is just yours, right? Mm-hmm. And those start marketing those topics, like we do with Content Momentum, like we do with M2M, like we do with Publishing Pyramid, 45 Live, all these things.
Just go back through our episodes and you're going to notice that we name drop these frameworks and these, IP everywhere. All the time. We talk about the Publishing Pyramid, the M2M, like all the time. We're just talking about it.
Publishing Pyramid word count in this episode. I think we've dropped it many times. We're just very proud of it. And that's the other thing, right? Are you actually proud of the things that you're creating? Are you actually proud of your IP? I think that's another one, right? If you are proud, you are going to market like crazy those things because that they are good, that they give results, that they serve your people.
We know they work because we've experienced it ourselves and we've experienced it with our clients. So, of course, we're going to talk more about it.
Yeah. All right. So, here's the deal. At the end of July, there's something fun coming, right? So, if you're interested, there's two things that we really want to find out. One, we're talking about the six-figure platform, and then the other one's M2M. We haven't really shared much about the process and the system and how we create outside of the people that do it, the service. But if you want to know both, we're actually doing a workshop at the end of July 29th. So if you want to find out more information about it and you want to do either or, let me know. Why are you laughing?
The workshop.
The workshop. Yeah, with the same energy. That is my radio voice. Anyways, if you're interested in being part of that, send us a quick DM. We'll ask you a couple questions. We want to make sure how can we serve you better? Should we do the six-figure platform first, or should we do M2M, which is how we create content for us and for all our clients?
That's right. So if you're looking to building up some art, authority, relevancy, and trust, make sure you hit us up. Send us a message at BIZBROS Co on Facebook, on Instagram, and we're ready to help you out.
That's right.
Do it.
With that said, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Contents Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite platform and on social media at BIZBROS Co.
That is right. And if today's episode helped you move one step closer towards your goal, please don't forget to share this episode and leave a 5-star review. See ya.
Bye, guys.
That was pretty good. Smooth.
Smooth.